Hello gamers and welcome back. I'm Rob, of course, or Warshak if you want to call me by my end-game name. And like I mentioned in our legendary Disenchant video, I would be doing an epic Disenchant video. For those of you unfamiliar with how I do these videos, I'm going to go over all of the epic cards in standard format and whether or not it's safe for you to actually disenchant these cards. There's a lot of questioned among newer to more intermediate players, and they have this collection but they don't know whether or not they should disenchant X card to craft X card because they don't know which card or which decks those cards use, and of course if it's safe to disenchant them or not. So with that, hopefully after this video you'll understand your collection a little bit better, which cards are good to keep and which cards you can safely get rid of without having to worry about too much. Again, I'm going to be using the same system that we used in my legendary disenchant video. 1 meaning do not disenchant it. 1 is perfect tier 1 card, do not get rid of it. 2 is it's kind of up to it's your choice. It's sometimes used, but only used in probably like one deck in one situation. And then 3 being it's trash, you can get rid of it, don't you worry about it. 3 is just bad, 2 like I said, and 1 is keep. So with that, let's hit onto it. We're going to be going over the class epics first and then making our way into the neutral epics. The first one is going to be Forbidden Ancient. I actually thought this card was going to be pretty good when it came out, just because you can play it on curve. So, if you're missing a turn 4 or turn 5 and you have this, you can kind of just play this card whatever turn you want, and you get to use the mana that you didn't end up using that turn because it's kind of like a flex spot. It ended up being really bad because not only is it it falls prone to silence or prey to silence cards. It's just not really that great. Like it was never really used. I did a lot of testing with this card when it originally came out. I thought there was potential. There's no potential. You can disenchant this card. You don't have to worry about it. Pilfered Power is another one. Druid already has huge mana gaining abilities, so this really isn't useful. You already have Wild Growth, Jade Blossoms, Nourish, and Innervate. Why would you play a card that requires you to have minions already on the board? And it costs 3 mana, because most of the time you're playing this when you have maybe 5 mana. You're playing this when you already have 4 or 5 or even more mana than that, and you're gaining like 2 to 3, and by then you don't really need mana and you don't want to extend cards like this because again it has requirements, while Wild Growth, Jade Blossoms, and Nourish don't have any requirements. You play those cards and most of the time they do what they're supposed to do, and there's no, again, creature requirement. So you can disenchant this guy. It's a 3. Ancient is a 3. Fate Spinner, this is one of those cards that again is part of the new set, and I tested a little bit in some of my token builds, but overall I found it pretty unreliable in regards to picking a death rattle that effectively does what you want it to do when you want it to do it, because it is a 5 mana 5/3, so it's just not good. There's no current decks that actually run this card, so you can safely disenchant it. Don't you have to worry about a thing. Force of Nature is a card that used to be exceedingly good, and it was found in almost every single Druid deck. Due to the nerf, which happened a long time ago, it now summons 3/2/2 treants, and it's kind of useless. If you're Yogg cast it seems pretty good, but you never play this in your deck. Even in token decks, it's not even that useful, because you'd rather just play Spreading Plague, which is a 5 mana, and I'm pretty sure it's a rare as well, so you can actually disenchant this epic. Don't you worry about it. Living Mana is our next one. This actually goes pretty well in aggro Druid, and in forms of token Druid, and even in taunt Druid, so I would not disenchant Living Mana. It's actually really good. It's only just not good when your opponent is Shaman and you play Living Mana and they play Devolve, and then you feel really sad. But for the most part, Living Mana is a pretty good Druid card that fits in a variety of different decks, whether you're playing, again, aggro or token or taunt. Lunar Vision's pretty bad. I played it in my Big Druid. I've played it in my Jade Druid. I've played it in Cthulhu Druid. I've played this card for a long time. It never really came in clutch. It really isn't necessary. You have Ultimate Infestation. You have Nourish. You've got better cards than Lunar Visions, so you can safely disenchant this card unless you just really like it, but for the most part you can get rid of it. Ancient of Lore used to be a card that I'd be like, oh my god, every Druid needs it. Then they nerf Ancient of Lore to, it used to say choose 1, draw 2 cards, or restore 5 health. Now it only draws a card, and a 7 mana 5/5 that draws you 1 card. You're paying 2 mana for 1 card draw, and that's just too much. Like, with 2 cards, it was really good, and it would be actually probably not even an auto included in most Druids right now. Maybe like a 1-of or something, but they nerfed it, and now it's just unplayable. So you can disenchant Ancient of Lore, no problem. Yeah, unless there is it depends when this video is coming out, because Blizzard did announce that they were going to talk about and maybe change some things in the Druid class, because Druid is like retardedly OP right now. So, if they end up changing like Ancient of Lore back to what it is, if this it's only disenchant if it's still draw a card. I don't know if they're ever going to change that back to 2, but if it says 2, keep it. If it's 1, then disenchant. Ancient of War. This is another keeper, in my opinion. Depending on the meta is when this guy sees popularity. So like during the mean streets meta, this guy was pretty popular. Some decks ran 1, some decks actually even ran 2. So if you have 2 of these, I would have to say you can disenchant one of them, but if you have 1 just to keep it, it's a pretty decent card. Put it in the 2 slot. Giant Anaconda, I would say it used to fit into Big Druid. It actually doesn't even fit into Big Druid anymore. It's just too slow, and it can be silenced. So you paid 7 mana for a 5/3 that gets silenced, and silence is really popular right now. So it's one of those cards that's good. It was good at one point, and now it kind of fell out, and it's only good in 1 deck. So I'd have to say you can disenchant Giant Anaconda, no problem. Wisp of the Old Gods was used to found in the old token Druid. Before all of this new shenanigans with Spreading Plague and Living Mana. This used to be one of the best token generators, but at the moment I haven't seen a single player play this card against me in the past months. So I would have to say it's pretty safe to get rid of Wisp of the Old Gods. Ultimate Infestation. Obviously, don't disenchant. It's one of the cards that makes Druid the best class at the moment. It's seen all over ladder. Every Druid deck is like tier S and has win rates off the charts. But keep in mind that they're probably going to be nerfing this, and if they don't nerf it, then the deck may not still be as good because they're going to nerf other cards. But I'm pretty sure Ultimate Infestation, you're going to want, even if they nerf it, you're going to be able to get full dust refund value for it. So I would just keep it. It's a good card. Or at the moment, it's a good card. All right, so moving to the next, we're going to Hunter. Bestial Wrath. You can disenchant this card. Not to say I've never played it, but I've never actually seen someone play it in their deck and the deck actually be better than just not playing it. Yeah, you don't need this card. Stampede, same goes for Stampede. I actually thought this card would be pretty good. Did some testing with it. Ended up not being very good. You can disenchant this card again. Put it under 3. Put this under 3. Dinomancy's a 3 as well. Originally, this card, when it came out, I was freaking out. I thought this was going to be the best card ever. It's actually... who would have known the Hunter hero power of pay 2 mana, deal 2 damage is still better than your hero power becomes give a beast +2/+2 for 2 mana as well, which seems crazy, right? Like this seems like it would just be a fantastic card, but unfortunately it's just never saw play it and never saw the shine. Never made it into the light. Snake Trap I'd keep. If you have 2 of them, I would have to say it's probably safe to disenchant one of them, but 2 is too many. 2 is too many. 1 is fine. So if you have, like I said, safe to disenchant if you have 2, but always keep 1 Snake Trap. Toxic Arrow is just bad. You can disenchant it. Unless you're playing Wild, then you can actually put this, there's like a, what is it called? Unstable Ghoul. So you actually Toxic Arrow your Unstable Ghoul and it's like a 4 mana board clear. But if you have no intention to play Wild, Toxic Arrow is bad. Rat Pack. Actually, I haven't played this card in any of my Hunter decks recently, but not to say it's not good. So I'd actually keep Rat Pack if you enjoy Hunter and you want a pretty good 3-drop. Plus, it has the ability to get better because of it. You end up buffing this card. You actually get to summon more rats. So it's not a bad card at all. I just haven't really played it in my particular Hunter list, but not to say that it's not played in Hunter lists. So I'd keep it. Good card. Piranha Launcher is absolutely horrible. And I don't know like why they made this design like this, but how are you gonna look down this sight if there's a giant fucking ball of piranhas in the middle of your like line of vision? So I don't know who designed this weapon, but I think this is the problem with the weapon is it's a design flaw. Like this is impossible to use correctly, so you can disenchant this. Abominable Bowman. I actually tested this out not too long ago on stream, and unfortunately Hunter just has so many beasts that die, whether you're playing Unleash the Hounds, the cards that come out of Savannah Highmane, Alley Cats. It's just, there's a lot of bad beasts that you can summon with this guy, so technically you're paying a premium for being able to have this death rattle, and he doesn't impact the board. So let's say you high roll and you get a Savannah Highmane back from this, or like a any decent card that has 3/3 in stats, then it's worth it. But unfortunately you can't guarantee that because there's so many tiny little Hunter cards, or should I say tiny little Hunter beasts. So it's kind of up to you if you want to disenchant this. I would say 2 is too many. Maybe want to keep 1, but for the most part you can disenchant it and you're not really missing out on anything, just in case you want to test it. It's not a bad card, it's just not very good, especially like with what other, there's better Hunter cards. Gladiator's Longbow, you can disenchant this. I wouldn't really worry about it. I have 2 of them because again I don't really need dust or need to craft cards. But you can disenchant Longbow, you don't need it at all. Giant Sandworm falls under the same category. You don't really play this in any of your Hunter's decks. It doesn't really fit anywhere, so I would disenchant this. You don't need it. Call of the Wild. I think like right now I actually play 2 of these in my hunter decks, but it's pretty uncommon to play a hunter with Call of the Wild in the deck. So it's kind of up to you if whether you want to disenchant this or not. Like you could probably just keep one of them and be okay, and maybe disenchant one. But you know, maybe if somehow falls back in the meta, hunter can make it to the late game, make it to turn 9. It's not a big deal, and then you can actually run 2 of these. So it's kind of your call there. But it's not a bad card at all. It's just hasn't really seen play. So. Again, part of my rating system, guys, is what cards see play. And if a card is, I mean, this is a good card, but unfortunately it just doesn't really see play. So that's why I would recommend disenchanting it. Forbidden Flame, this is another one that hasn't really fit into mage decks in a little bit. It actually could fit into a Kazakus mage, but even so, there's better cards that you can put in your deck, so I wouldn't really have to say Forbidden Flame is a relatively good keep either. It's kind of sad that a lot of these epics, like you pull an epic from a pack and you expect the epic to be good and fit in a variety of decks, but they're just not. So Forbidden Flame, you can actually disenchant this. Primordial Glyph is actually one where it's one of the best mage cards out right now, so definitely keep all your Primordial Glyphs. Fantastic card. Do not disenchant. Ice Block falls under the same category. Definitely do not disenchant your Ice Block's a very good card. Magnetic Soulcaster currently fits into Kazakus Mage. So keeping one of these is good, but if you have 2, you can disenchant it. But I would definitely keep 1 Soulcaster. This card, I don't even want to try to say the name, but you can keep it if you plan on playing Quest Mage. But currently, this is the only Mage deck that runs this card, and you don't even have to really have this card in that mage deck, and you only run 1 of them. So if you have 2 of these, you can disenchant, keep 1 if you plan on running Quest Mage, but if you don't, you can disenchant it. Spellbender, I think I have a golden one, yeah. Spellbender, I'd keep it. I'd keep 1 of them. I don't think you need 2, but 1, definitely a keep. Tome's good. Again, you could probably just keep 1 Tome. 2 is probably too much, but it's still not a bad card. So if you like Tome, you can keep it, no big deal. Meteor, definitely keep. It's a great card. 2 of them's fine. You know, if you want to play 2 of them in your mage deck, that's not the worst thing in the world. But I think most people play is like 1 Meteor, 2 Blizzards. But definitely don't disenchant Meteor. It's good. Greater Arcane Missiles, it's not even in my collection, and I've opened hundreds of packs. It's just not, it's never a card that you're going to put in any of your mage decks, so you can disenchant this card. It's just bad. There's better ways to do damage, plus it's random, right? So you're like shooting 3 missiles for 9 damage. Meanwhile, you know, like a 7 mana deal 9 damage is, oh, Rob, but it's like almost a Pyroblast for 3 mana cheaper. The problem is you can't control where these missiles go, which is a pretty big issue. Glacial Mysteries is awful. There's not a mage deck in the world right now that I would play. I would like, it was a joke that it would be not as good as Mysterious Challenger, but like it showed Mysterious Challenger and then it showed this, and then it had like the mage secrets and all the paladin secrets. But the thing is, there was with mage secrets, it like you don't want to play a whole bunch of them in your deck because they don't a lot of them don't actively impact the board, while the paladin ones, like it was built into a creature that brought them all out, plus they're only 1 mana, and paladin has great draw mechanics. So I don't know, this card is just bad. You can disenchant it. Pyroblast, definitely keep this. It's a fantastic card and it's a great finisher. It actually didn't see play for the longest time, because the meta was just so fast. But now that the meta's slowed down, most mages are running at least 1 Pyroblast, which is, even in my Tempo Mage, I actually run 1 Pyroblast just to have a good finisher. So, good card. Excuse me. Ooh. Long day. And don't disenchant. If you have 2 of them, you could probably disenchant 1, but definitely don't disenchant if you only have 1. Moving to Paladin, Forbidden Healing. Currently, most Paladin decks only run 1 Forbidden Healing, but keeping 2 is probably not that bad, just because it might go into, you know, at one point, Forbidden Healing, there was actually 2 in each Paladin deck, in Control Paladin at one time. But because they have, like, Rag the Light Lord and cards like that, you know, having 2 Forbidden Healing really isn't needed anymore. So I think 1 Forbidden Healing is fine. If you have 2, you can disenchant 1. Marshall is just bad. You can disenchant this card, no problem. This was bad. Vilephin Inquisitor fits in Murloc Paladin very good, or very well, I should say. So definitely don't disenchant this if you have any intention of playing any sort of early game or mid-range Paladin, because this is just a really good 1-drop. Fantastic card. Primal Fin Champion's awful. You can disenchant this card. It's a 3 for sure. Sorry, I've not been doing the number system here, but when I say you can disenchant it, you don't have to worry. That means 3, and hopefully you've caught on. But anyway, this is a 3, disenchant. Small Time Recruits, another 3. It used to fit in like 1 Paladin deck, very aggressive Paladin, but even now I haven't seen it being played at all, and it's there's better cards, so you can disenchant this. It's a 3. Sword of Justice, I'd actually keep this card. Not that it sees a lot of play right now, but eventually, it's depending on like what the meta looks like, it actually does see play, and it's not bad. So if you have it and you can keep it, you can keep it. If you really don't like the card and you never see yourself playing it, you can disenchant it. You're not really losing out on too much, but it's a card that I would definitely hold on to. At least if you have 2 of them, disenchant 1. But if you have only 1, I wouldn't recommend disenchanting it. Avenging Wrath, you can disenchant. It's just not a good card for its mana cost. Deal 8 damage for 6, randomly split across minions. Sure, you could throw it into some Paladin decks and it may get use, but for the most part, you don't really need that card. Blackguard is an interesting one. I saw Reynad playing it, seemed interesting. 6 mana, 3/9, so it's pretty difficult to kill for the most part. But the problem is, whenever your hero is healed, deal amount of damage to the enemy hero. So you want like minions that have life steal, you want Forbidden Healing in your deck, Rag the Light Lord, stuff like that. So he's actually not that bad, so I'd maybe keep him, because maybe in a future meta he's pretty good. But at the moment, he's really not that good, so I would have to leave this up to your discretion. He's not a staple in any current Paladin list, but he's not a bad card. So it's all going to depend with this guy on what the future cards are. Dino Size is another one. It's not a bad card, but it just doesn't really see play. It's currently, again, not a staple in any Paladin deck, so you're not really missing out on anything if you don't have it. But at the same time, you know, sometimes having 1 Dino Size in your deck can give you burst damage, you know, that you wouldn't normally have before, and a lot of people won't play around it. So maybe 1 Dino Size is pretty good, but unfortunately Silence is really popular right now. So even if you do play this Dino Size, it's really weak to Silence. So it's up to you. I would have to say you don't really need Dino Size at all. Lay on Hands, I'd keep 1 in your collection. 2 is too many, but 1 is fine. So yeah. Moving to Priest. Forbidden Shaping, Disenchant. It's not a staple in any Priest deck. You don't need it. Embrace the Shadow, again, just a bad Priest card. You don't need it. It was played in like OTK Priest, and that doesn't really exist anymore, so you can disenchant this. All of the copies. And when I say it's bad, you can get rid of it. That means all of the copies. And if I stated otherwise, then go by what I said. Mana Geode is another card that doesn't see play. It's not a bad card, but it's just not as good as some other cards right now. So again, you don't need this card. Definitely 3. Shadow Visions, finally a card that I can say you can keep. A very good card. Every Priest deck runs 2 of them. It's very, very good. Very similar to like Primordial Glyph and Mage. Shadow Visions is like the Primordial Glyph for Priest. So Curious Glimmer, definitely keep. It's a good card. Fits into most Priest decks. And being able to generate a free card from your opponent's deck if you guess correctly is really good. Shadow Form, sure, if you like to play Shadow Priest, then it's a necessity, but right now, the new DK Priest, the Anduin card, basically allows you to turn into a Shadow Priest, plus it gives you the ability to use it over and over and over in the single turn, so like you don't need Shadow Form because the DK Priest just does it better, but keep in mind that this is like a classic card from the basic set or whatever, and the DK Priest is eventually going to rotate out. So if you really like Shadow Priest, then I suppose you can keep this because this will never rotate, but at the moment it's not very good. And then if you were going to play Shadow Form, you'd play DK Priest, and the DK Priest is going to be around for 2 years. So you'd be basically waiting 2 years for this maybe to see value. So I would have to say it's pretty safe to disenchant. Mind Games. I don't think this was actually played in one of the Priest decks I built a long time ago, and it was absolutely awful, but it was really fun to play. But besides that, it's an awful card. You don't need Mind Game. Oh, it's not an awful card. It's just an RNG based card. So you don't need Mind Games. You can disenchant, no worry. Cabal Shadow Priest is actually a pretty good card. Depending on the meta, she sees a lot of play or no play. At the moment, she's found in Kazakus Priest, which is actually also known as Highlander Priest, and it's tier 1 right now for sure. It was found and did very, very well in the most recent HTC EU spring preliminaries. It had a very good win rate, so I would definitely keep 1 Cabal Shadow Priest. 2 maybe too much, but definitely keep 1 of these guys. Very good. Dragonfire Potion, definitely keep 2 of them for sure. It's like one of the best Priest AoE cards. It compares to Light Bomb when that was a thing. So definitely do not disenchant your Dragonfires, keep both. Embrace the Darkness, let's go to the gold one. Bad. You don't need this card. It's not a staple in any Priest deck. Some Priest decks do play them, and sometimes they get value from this, but for the most part, you do not need Embrace Darkness in your Priest deck, so you can disenchant, don't you worry. And then the Obsidian Statue is actually really, really good. If you have 2 of them, definitely keep both of them. Fits well into Control Priest, fits well into Big Priest. It actually plays one in sometimes the Kazakus Priest, depending on how cancerous you are or not, so definitely a good card. I'd keep both. Moving to Rogue. Prep. obviously keep. It's one of the staples in many rogue decks, and it's definitely a staple in Miracle Rogue, which has always been kind of the most popular and most powerful rogue deck out. Boomerang, super cool card when I first saw it come out. I thought I would see a lot of play, but unfortunately it didn't. So you can disenchant this. It's not good right now. Maybe in like 6 months it'll be good, but we're talking realistically right now, and the dust looks 100 dust looks a lot better than this card that's not seeing play in your collection. Yeah, let's go to the golden biteweed. People said it was basically the mini Van Cleef. The question is, why would you play this when you can just play the real Van Cleef? So you don't need this. You can disenchant it. It's a 3 for sure. This is a 3. This is a 1. Sorry, I didn't go over the ranks. The assassin's a 3. You don't need this guy. You can disenchant. Not a problem. He doesn't fit in any deck. He doesn't fit in anywhere. He's just bad. Lotus Assassin, not a bad card, but he's actually doesn't really. There's no deck he fits in. He's just a really cool card. Like, look at that guy. He just looks badass. Like, he's a panda. He gets invisible. He's got a cool sword. He's got cool armor on. He has assassin in his name. But unfortunately, he just doesn't really fit anywhere. So like I said, you could probably disenchant this guy without a worry. Shadowcaster, I'd keep both, depending on, you know, if you want to play Jade Rogue or Ultimate Value Rogue or Tempo Rogue or Elemental Rogue. All of those decks run this particular card, whether you're running 1 or 2, so it's a good card. I'd keep it. Slayer, keep it for sure, both of them, 100%. It's like one of the best rogue cards out right now. The ability to combo, destroy a minion is insane, and definitely it's found in every single rogue deck, 100%. This is what actually, like, without this card, I don't think rogue would see any play. Like, this card is like the Dragonweight operative of the rogue. Like, Kidnapper is absolutely awful. He was sometimes found in... No, I can't even say he was sometimes found in. I was trying to think back when I saw this card, but I'm thinking back and I never saw this card. You can disenchant. I didn't even know this card was in the game. I'm kidding. The Lucky Do Buccaneer, the 6-mana 5/5 that does nothing. If your weapon has at least 3 attack and 4/4, so he's like a king's on himself if your weapon has +3 attack, but again, or at least 3 attack. So you could think like deadly poison, but you're like, it has a requirement and it doesn't actually impact the board eventually, or it doesn't impact the board right away. And most pirate decks are pretty aggressive decks, and this isn't an aggressive card. It's a 6-mana card that has a requirement to even be good, so it's just bad. You can disenchant it. The Spectral Pillager, this is just bad. It's like, I don't know why you'd play this. Maybe eventually it becomes good, but right now it's not. No one plays this. It's just not good. You can disenchant. So it's a 3, a 3, a 3. Blade of Cthulhu. At once, Cthulhu Rogue was pretty good. I actually played it and I did fairly well. We had like a 60% win rate with it, 55, somewhere between there, 55 and 60. But most of the time, Cthulhu decks right now are pretty bad, and just in comparison to all the other decks that are out there, it just doesn't have the power level it did at the time when Cthulhu was like one of the like big cards, right? Now you got DK, you got the new Death Knights for all the classes. You know, you got Jades. So like Cthulhu's just not what he was before. So you can probably disenchant this card without a worry. If I would have said a couple months ago before a couple sets came out, you know, keep 1 Blade of Cthulhu just in case you want to build like a cool rogue Cthulhu deck. But even now, like, I don't think you'd run a Blade of Cthulhu in your Cthulhu rogue. Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't, but either way you can disenchant. Don't have to worry about a thing. Finders Keepers, I actually tried to use this card. I have faith that this card is actually not as bad as what do you think it is. The problem is that Shaman, like right now, the only viable Shaman deck is an Evolved Shaman, and Evolved Shaman doesn't have room for cards like this. So this is more like a control card, because you could find like another Volcano, another Lightning Storm, an Earth Elemental, stuff like that. But unfortunately, as cool as the card is and as much potential I think this card might have, it's actually not. It doesn't see play, and it doesn't fit into any deck, and it's not mandatory in any deck, and it's an epic, right? So you can disenchant this for 100 dust to be able to build like a rare or a common. That's a staple in one of these decks that you want to build. So you can disenchant Finders Keepers. This card's just horrible. You can disenchant it. You don't have to worry about it. Freeze Shaman is not a thing. Well, at least yet, but I don't think it'll ever be a thing. Eternal Sentinel, it used to be pretty good, but now is not see play. It doesn't see any play, so you can disenchant it. Farsight used to be actually found in some Control Shaman lists. I'm even running Control Shaman right now, and I still don't play Farsight. I guess I could try to put it in the deck to see how well it does, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe you could hold on to it. Yeah, I'd hold on to one of them. I don't know. Maybe you don't hold on to it. I only say I want to hold on to it because I'm greedy. I want like all the cards, but for like a normal person, nah, you wouldn't need to hold on to this card. And it's very interesting because if you look at where this picture takes place, off topic of the actual Disenchant guide, this is in the Ungoro. Like the guy right now is in Ungoro, and then if you look at his eyeball, it's Ice Crown Citadel. So this was like a prerequisite to like what expansion was going to come after Journey to Ungoro was Ice Crown Citadel. Isn't that funny? Like a guy is standing on Journey to Ungoro, the set, and then his eyeball is Ice Crown. That's fucking insane. And this card was made in the basic set. So it's like, how far ahead are these expansion guys? These are the questions. Spirit Echo, I'd keep one of them. It's a pretty good card for value, and sometimes you can fit it in. You could be like a cheeky dude and fit it into your Evolved Shaman deck, play down a whole bunch of doppelgangers and stuff, and then drop a Spirit Echo, and then have like 3 more doppelgangers, and you could throw it on a Sea Giant and stuff and Thing from Below. So one of them's enough, 2 of them too many. So Disenchant if you have 2. This card's just bad. You can Disenchant it. It's never saw play. I tried playing it. It's just bad. You can Disenchant. This is 3 for sure. Doomhammer, definitely keep. I would definitely keep just 2 of them maybe, because maybe aggro shaman becomes a thing. At the moment, it's not. It doesn't really see a lot of play, but it has the potential to see play because it's still Doomhammer. It's still a good weapon. So maybe I guess if you have 1, yeah, I would hold on to both if you have 2. Yeah, I think it's one of those cards that's never going to rotate out. And let's say you disenchant 2 of them and then Doomhammer becomes a thing later on, you're going to be pretty upset with yourself. So I'd hold it. Earth Elemental, I don't know. I don't think this is even seen play in elemental decks because you have Servant of something. Servant of Kalamos? No. Yes, Servant of Kalamos, and Servant of Kalamos actually generates an elemental. So if you're playing an elemental shaman, you don't actually run this card, you run a card that generates elementals, which could generate this, right? So I don't think you really need the Earth Elemental, but not to say it's a bad card. It fits into Big Shaman, but Big Shaman doesn't exist right now. Even in my Big Shaman list, which we have deck testings coming out for, maybe by the time you've seen this, it doesn't even run this card. So it's up to you on that one. Hammer of Twilight, not a bad card, but not necessarily a really good card right now. It was actually found in Aggro Shaman for a little bit there. It's actually not that bad in Evolved Shaman either, because it does summon that 4/2 elemental that can attack, and then you can evolve that into a 5/5, or not a 5/5, but a 5 mana card, because a 4/2 is pretty weak. So the weapon with a creature built in is not bad. Again, it's up to you. I would probably feel comfortable disenchanting it because you don't really need it. But again, up to you. If you have 2 of them, just definitely if you have 2 of them, you can definitely disenchant 1. Same goes for the Earth Elemental. The Stone Sentinel's just bad. I wouldn't even play him in my Elemental Shaman deck. He's just a 7 mana 4/4 that has a requirement. It's awful. Just awful, awful, awful. Disenchant him. And the Snow Fury Giant fits into one particular deck, and that's the Overload Control Shaman deck. Maybe that becomes a thing one day, but at the moment it's not. And I don't even see it being that good of a deck, even if it becomes a thing. So you can disenchant it without a worry right now for sure. But if you want to hang on to it in the hopes that it becomes good one day, that's not a bad plan either. But, you know, if you're in need of dust, you can disenchant it. Don't you have to worry. Moving to Warlock. I need to sip real quick. Bloodbloom, you can disenchant. Card's not found in any Warlock deck. That's good. Never really saw play. You can disenchant. This card, people are actually freaking out when this card came out. They're like, this card's going to be so good. A 2 mana 2/3 battle cry, move the top card of your opponent's deck. Oh my god, mill Warlock. What's going on? This card's just bad, guys. Like, if your opponent is never going to hit fatigue in the game, discarding a card from the top of their deck has no impact. It could be any card. It could be bad. It could be really good. But most of the time, it just has no effect on the actual game because you're never hitting fatigue. And it doesn't really fit anywhere. Like, let's say if this was like a demon and it said like, if this was a demon, right? A 2 mana 2/3 demon, and it says if this is discarded from your hand, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. Now we're talking. Then it could be used in like a demon discard deck, and it's got synergies within discarding, you know, opponent's cards along with your cards. So like, maybe, but this card's just bad. You can disenchant it. Renounced Darkness is just a fun card. We've built a couple memey Renounced Darkness Warlock decks and been able to pull off some crazy combos. So again, I don't want to tell you to disenchant this card because it's a really fun card. You can super fun card, guys. But if you're looking for just solely just good decks, you can disenchant Renounced Darkness. But if you're looking for like some fun times and some memey shit, keep your Renounced Darknesses, get 2 of them, and then build yourself like a Renounced Darkness Warlock deck and have a blast. The Tunneler is just bad. It's not really found. Holy shit, do you hear that thunder? Chilling Tunneler, it's not found in any Warlock deck, it's just bad. Treachery is interesting because people thought you could go like Doomsayer, Treachery, give your opponent a Doomsayer, and it's a 5 mana clear the board. So it's not necessarily a bad card, it's like the same likelihood that you'd have like Frost Nova Doomsayer, but the problem is Frost Nova is good on its own and Doomsayer is good on its own, while Treachery is only good on cards like Doomsayer. So you're giving up that card sort of like tech there. But, you know, maybe eventually Treachery will be good. I don't think they'd print a card like this and then it never see like another creature besides Doomsayer. So this is one where if you like, you're not really needing the dust to build something right away, I'd actually keep this card because I think it's going to be used in the future. And this is one of those cards, like a lot of times I'm like with the Freeze Shaman, I don't think you don't have to worry about that. But this is actually a card I think is fairly interesting. And if you need dust, you can disenchant it. But if you don't need dust, try to hold on to it. You can disenchant this guy, not a worry. Yeah. 3. Pit Lord 3. You can disenchant. Just bad. Bane of Doom. I'd keep one of them. 2 is too many. It's not here. Let's get the golden one. Yeah, keep 1. 2 is too many. It's not a bad card, but it's just doesn't really see a lot of play. But if you play Kazakus Warlock, it's probably a card you might want in your deck. Cabal Trafficker again. It's not really seen in any Warlock deck. Again, if you want to play him in your like Kazakus Warlock deck or some demon deck that you really like, sure, play one of them, but 2 is too many, so keep 1. Twisting Nether, I like 2 of these. I actually play 2 in my demon discard, not demon discard, my demon handlock deck right now. I run 2 Twisting Nethers and it works out really, really well. So do not disenchant. Doom, you can disenchant. This card's bad unless you're running like the Medivh version of the Warlock. It's like a Kazakus Medivh control Warlock, but that's the only deck that this fits into, so you really don't need Doom. Heading to Warrior, you get Shield Slam. Keep this. It's part of the basic set. Never going to rotate out. Really good field clear. Good card. Bring It On. This is another card that's actually, I think, pretty good. I'm going to be testing it a lot more, but for the most part, in Control Warrior, it's actually not that bad, and in Fatigue Warrior, it's not that bad. So I'd hold on to Bring It On. Dead Man's Hand. Another card I would hold on to. Not that Warrior is really good right now, but eventually, not eventually. Again, I think next set, Control Warrior might stand out a little bit more. Plus, with the update of Jade Druid maybe seeing a nerf, or Druid in general seeing a nerf, Dead Man's Hand may see popularity, so I'd definitely keep it. Explorer on Goro is just bad. You don't have to worry about this card. It's just, you can disenchant. Sleep with the Fish is really, really good. A staple in almost any Control Warrior deck. Quest Warrior, it's just a good card. Keep 2 of them, don't disenchant. Blood Warriors, found in particular deck, there's like this giant Blood Warrior Sudden Genesis OTK Warrior deck, so if you want to play that, keep Blood Warriors. If not, you can get rid of it. It's only good in that one deck. Brass Knuckles, just bad, disenchant 3 for sure. Brawl, 100% keep. This is like your bread and butter of Warrior AoE, very similar to like Flame Strike and Mage or Meteor and Mage. You know, Dragon Fire Potion and Priest. Brawl is Warriors, that. Sudden Genesis is the card I was talking about with the OTK Warrior. If you don't need this card, or you don't plan on playing that deck, you don't need this card, so it's fine. Tentacles Forearms, again, just a bad Warrior weapon. Nothing to see here. Besides tentacles. You can disenchant, you don't have to worry about a thing. And Gore Howl, I'd keep 1 of them. 2 is too many. There's actually a time where I actually ran 2 Gore Howls in my Control Warrior deck, just because weapon destruction was a thing. So they like weapon destruction the first Gore Howl, and then I play the second one and they can see because it just has so much value in it. But right now Gore Howl is not being played, so I just keep 1 of them. 2 is too many, so hopefully that goes with that. All right, we're at the neutrals now, so it should go pretty quickly because there's a lot of really bad neutral epics, and I'm not really going to go over them that quickly. Emerald Hive is just bad, disenchant. Hungry Crab is a tech card. I'd keep it just because, you know, depending on the meta, Murlocs are really popular. You play like 1 or 2 Hungry Crabs, you tech against the meta, so keep your Hungry Crabs. Weasel Tunneler, you can get rid of this card. It's bad. Dirty Rat, keep another tech card based on the meta. You know, you can throw it into your control decks and it can get a lot of good value. Doomsayer, again, part of the basic set, a card that's never going to rotate out, fits into a lot of control decks, a good card in general. Keep this card. Blood Knight, depending on the meta, some people call it a good tech card. I don't think it's just be a tech card that's only good against one particular class, like the Galaka Crawlers and Hungry Crabs. They're good against Murlocs, but Murlocs can be played in every single class. So you can play Murlocs and Druid, you can play Murlocs and Rogue, you can play Murlocs and Paladin. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's different decks that run those cards. But Blood Knight, Divine Shield is only a Paladin thing, so you're only teching Blood Knight versus Paladins, and that's not worth it. So you can disenchant Blood Knight. This guy's bad. You don't need him at all. This card, again, just bad. Like, I have yet to see this card see play one time. Maybe, sure, you want to play him with your Lich King or Ysera and stuff, keep him. You know, this is up to your general discretion, all of this is. But at the moment, this is not a useful card. Maybe it will be, though. So if you can hold on to it, hold on to it. But if you can't, you're not missing out. This card's, again, just bad. Fellow Orc, Soul Fiend, a 3, Disenchant, no worries. Gluttonous Ooze, let's go to the gold one. I think 1 is enough. I don't think you really need to run 2 Gluttonous Oozes. So if you have 2 of them, you can disenchant 1 of them. But if you have 1 of them, definitely keep it. Murloc War Leader. Murlocs are really powerful right now, whether you're playing them in Rogue or Paladin, mostly Paladin. But some other decks run them, including Druid. So definitely keep your War Leaders. South Sea Captain. Again, Pirate's really, really strong. Again, whether you're playing it in Rogue or Pirate Warrior, it's a pretty good deck. So I would definitely keep them. Bright-Eyed Scout. I didn't even play this card in my Big Druid. I guess I'm gonna try to play this card instead of the Anaconda. So I guess if you want to play Big Druid, you can keep this card, but Big Druid is really expensive, and if you can afford to play Big Druid and you're watching this, I don't know why you're watching this video, so it's up to you whether or not you want to keep Bright-Eyed Scout if you actually want to play it in your Big Druid, but if not, it only fits in that one deck, and you can disenchant it. Corpse Taker, I'd keep it. It's pretty good in Paladin. I'd keep both of them. Cyclopean Horror is really bad. Never saw him played. He has an interesting ability, but it doesn't make him good. So you can disenchant both of them. This guy, I didn't even know this guy was in the game until I got him from like a random effect that generated him. But you can actually disenchant this guy, both of them. You don't need them in your decks at all. Faceless Shambler is actually found in one deck, and basically one deck only right now. And that's the Handlock or Demon Handlock deck that I was referring to earlier with the card of Twisting Nether. So if you plan on playing a Warlock at all, Faceless Shambler is actually really good. It's actually not bad in a couple other decks, but it's just not... It doesn't see a lot of play, and again, it's kind of just a card for just 1 or 2 decks, so it falls under that 2 category of not being 1 where it's keep and not being disenchant right away because it's bad, because it's not bad. Again, it's just found in a couple different decks, and if you're a free-to-play player and you're not going to play Handlock, then you don't really need this card, but if you want to hold on to him, again, he's a really good card. Gentle Megasaur is found in, again, Murloc Paladin. It's the only deck he fits into, but it's a very powerful deck, so if you intend on playing Murloc Paladin, keep the Gentle Megasaur. He's a really good card. The next one's Meat Wagon. You can disenchant this card. If it ever goes into a deck, it's more so going to be in a meme deck. Jackie Chan actually reviewed this card and made a really good card review for it. It got a lot of views, but unfortunately, I actually haven't even seen him play this card yet. So I don't know. I don't think this card's good at all. The Rattling Rascal. I've seen people play it. I think I've lost to it 1 time, but overall, I don't think it's that great at all. I guess it could fit into your Evolved Shaman deck or like a Silence deck. But besides that, like, it only fits in certain decks, and I don't even think it's that good as is. So you can disenchant. Twilight Summoner is found in like N'Zoth decks, especially the old Control N'Zoth Warrior deck. But unfortunately, Priest is really popular right now, and with Priest being popular, Priests have Potion of Madness. Potion of Madness can take this card, trade into your own minions, and then they actually get the 5/5. So, and plus, N'Zoth Control Warrior just sucks right now. So, unfortunately, cards like this suck right now. So, you can disenchant the Summoner, no problem. BGH, keep 1 of them. If you have 2 of them, again, disenchant 1, keep 1 though, because BGH in this meta is actually pretty good, especially in Druid. I've played numerous Druids now that play BGH, and it always fucks me up. So, you can play this card in your decks if you want to, you know, get people by surprise. Bittertide, I'd keep both of them. They fit into any aggro deck, whether you're playing, I've seen it in aggro Mage, I've seen it in aggro Warrior, aggro Paladin. I've seen this card in every single deck. So the fact that it can go in any aggro deck, regardless of the class, is good. So keep the card. Burglary Bully, mainly only found in Mages because it generates coins if your opponents play spells, and Mage and Rogue actually benefit the most from coins, but Mage in particular because of Archmage. You can actually play Archmage and like 2 coins to generate 2 fireballs, but it also is really good in Rogue because Rogue can benefit off coins with cards like Auctioneer and Arcane Giant. So I would keep 1 Burglary Bully, 2 is too many. Crazed Worshipper, good in Cthulhu decks, but Cthulhu isn't a thing right now, so you can disenchant. This card is just awful. Just awful. Disenchant. Faceless Manipulator, I'd keep 1 if you have 1, but 2 is too many. Teching 1 in your deck right now is actually pretty good. I actually play 1 in my Control Shaman right now, and it actually comes in really clutch. Like, let's say my opponent is like a Paladin, and they play like Steed on it, something, or Tyrion. I can Faceless Manipulator that, and then devolve their board or hex the creature. So I actually get the card, and then theirs goes away. Tomb Lurker, another card that I've been looking at recently to play in my N'Zoth control Shaman, but besides that, you don't need this card. You can disenchant. Validated Doomsayer is just bad, disenchant. Harbinger is just bad, you can disenchant. I guess if you really like 10 drops, put one into your hand, but it's just bad, disenchant. Defias Cleaner, disenchant. Fight Promoter, again, just disenchant. These are all really, really bad. The Furnace Fire Colossus, again, discard all weapons from your hand and gain their stats is just bad. Weapons are good, that's why you put them in your deck. You don't want to get rid of them, so disenchant this guy. That's why I don't even have him. The Hog Leader, again, disenchant. If your opponent has 6 or more cards in your hand, gain charge 6/6 for 6. Like, no, just disenchant that card. The New Rubian Unraveler is actually an interesting card because spell costs 2 more, which means your opponent, like Druids, can't like innervate. They can't play an Ultimate Infestation. It just gives them a hard time, but it's only really good against classes like that. So if you like cheeky cards like this, keep one of them. 2 is too many, but for the most part you can disenchant this card without a worry. Scaled Nightmare is another card you can disenchant without a worry. If you really want to play Scaled Nightmare, get yourself another Spite Historian and it'll generate one of these for free and you don't actually have to play this shitty card in your deck, so disenchant. The Geist, or Geist, for those of you who are going to freak the fuck out when I say it wrong, keep one of them. 2 is too many. If you run 2 of these in your deck, you're losing more games than you're winning against Jade Druid because you're playing 2 of them. So just play 1, call it a day, if you even want to play this card. Burglebot is just bad. Just bad. Disenchant. Blaze Caller is good. Keep both of them. If you like elemental decks, throw them in there. But currently elemental decks aren't very good right now. The only elemental deck that I think is actually pretty good is the Tempo Elemental Rogue deck, which actually runs 2 of these. So it's not a bad card. Keep it. But currently that's really the only deck that fits it. But you can of course run this in any elemental deck, whether you're playing Mage or Shaman, which is why I'm recommending you keep it. You charge double sword. Let's go to the golden one. It's just a bad card. You don't play this card. If you get him out of like free from Amber, I guess he's okay because you can just charge him out and attack right away. But besides that, you never play this card in your deck. Primordial Drake, definitely keep. It's a really good card, regardless of if Quest Warrior is popular or not. Still good in Dragon Priest, still good in Druid, still good in Warrior. So keep your Primordial Drakes. The Primalist is bad. Granted, I don't have him, so he's not even wanting to craft just to have a full collection. Same thing goes for Blood of the Ancient One. The Big Priest can actually play this card and summon them quite often, but unfortunately you don't need this. You can just play normal Big Priest with the Ysera, Rage, Statues, and Lich King, and you're good to go. Sea Giant, keep it. It's part of the classic set, never rotating out. It's pretty good in Evolve Shaman, and it's also pretty good in Zoo. And it's also good attack against other decks that revolve around throwing out a lot of minions on the full board. So let's say your opponent has like 5 or 6 minions down and they're like, you know, 1/1s and 1/2s. You actually can play Sea Giant relatively quickly, so it's good. Arcane Giant, again, another really good card to keep. You can play it in Druid, you can play it in Rogue, you can play it in Mage, and it's a variety of different decks that Arcane Giant's actually pretty good in, so definitely keep it. Mountain Giant's only found in one deck, and that's Handlock. Again, this falls under the same category as the Twisting Nether and the Faceless Shambler. So what I said about those particular cards is going to fall under Mountain Giant. And Molten Giant is a card that actually used to be really, really good, and then it got nerfed, so now it's pretty bad. So it's only really found in 0 decks right now. No one plays this card, but it's actually pretty good in Wild, and it's actually... it's good against the, it's right at the tip of my tongue, the Death Knight boss in Ice Crown. You play him in your Hunter deck and you can defeat the boss really easily. So it depends on the situation. I'd actually keep him just in case because he's never going to cycle out and eventually he'll be good. But I guess if you don't really have the room and you just need dust, you can disenchant him. And that's going to end the deck guide there, or not the deck guide, but the disenchant guide there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave that in the comment section below. And if anybody would like to add on to anything I've said, feel free to, again, in the comment section below. I can't cover everything I want to because, again, I want to go over this relatively quickly to make the most use of our time. So again, if you are looking for further information about this, check the comment section. People always leave some good stuff there. And as always, guys, I'm Robert Warshak, and happy whatever the hell day.